Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing really well. We're back to more of our regular schedule after sharing 2 videos from our recent trip to Germany. We're thrilled to see that so many of you watched them and enjoyed them, so thank you very much for your support. Today I have some exciting new recipes to share inspired by your requests for refreshing summer salads. First up is the delicious griddled peach and tofu salad with quinoa and mange tout. I've also prepared a vegan twist on the classic salad Nicoise. Both of these recipes feature fantastic summer ingredients, of course, like peaches and new potatoes. They're not only satisfying and flavorful, but also perfect as main dishes for lunch or dinner. But before we get into cooking, I want to thank Squarespace for sponsoring this video and tell you a little bit more about them. Squarespace is an all-in-one website builder with lots of great tools to create a beautiful and well-functioning website without any prior knowledge of coding or website building. Their Fluid Engine design system offers great customizable templates that will suit your style and brand. For example, they offer great blogging tools which allow you to share your stories, photos, and videos, as well as schedule your posts as you wish. You can also use Squarespace to set up your own online store, whether you sell physical, digital, or service products. I use Squarespace for my online photography portfolio and really enjoy how easy and intuitive it is to use the drag and drop technology to bring my creative ideas to life. So if you're thinking about creating a website for your project, check out squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch your site, go to squarespace.com/goodeatings for 10% off your first website or domain. Now let's dive into the first recipe, starting with the griddled peach and tofu salad. For this dish, I'm using a pre-marinated tofu that I frequently purchase. It complements the flavors of the salad perfectly. It has a savory taste and is infused with aromatic herbs. However, if you prefer to marinate your own tofu, I'll provide a recipe in the description box that works just as well. To begin, we need to prepare the quinoa though. I've opted for a white quinoa, but feel free to use any variety that you prefer. You can even substitute it with another type of grain if you like. To serve 4 people, I prepare half a cup of dry quinoa and I flavor it with a 1/4 teaspoon of vegetable stock powder, but you could also use a 1/4 of a bouillon cube or stock cube. This is just to give the salad a bit of a base flavor. Then I add 1 cup of water and I cover the pot with a lid before bringing it all to a boil. Once it reaches a boil, I turn it down to a simmer and allow it to simmer for 15 to 20 minutes or until all the water has evaporated. Now that the quinoa is cooking away, I'm going to preheat my griddle pan while I prepare the ingredients that I'm going to cook on it. I really like preparing salad ingredients like this in the summer because it replicates the flavors and charring of a barbecue. It's an especially good cooking method if you, like me, live on the 4th floor of an apartment building without an elevator. However, if you have a barbecue and you want to put it to good use, feel free to use it for grilling these ingredients when making this salad. It'll add an extra smoky touch to the flavors. For this salad, I like to cut the tofu into little triangles, quite slim, but you could cut the tofu into another shape, just keep it kind of flat and slim. I would stray away from cubes if you are using a griddle pan because you don't really have enough space for the griddle marks in that shape. The easiest way to cut triangles, I think, is just to keep cutting the top of the tofu block across the middle, as you can see here. Once I'm done with the tofu, I like to also prep the peaches, and for this I cut all the way into the pip all around the peach, and then I twist it to remove 1/2 from the pip and then remove the pip from the other half. I then like to slice the peaches into about 3 or 4 wedges per half, depending on the size of the peach. I use 4 quite large pieces to serve 4 people, and it's good to use peaches that aren't quite ripe yet as they fry better. At this point, my griddle pan is hot and I've prepped all my ingredients. So I brush some oil on one side of each tofu triangle and I place them with the flat, sort of wide side down. Then I allow them to fry for about 3-4 minutes or until they have nice griddle marks on one side. And in the meantime, I brush them with oil on the other side. Once I can see the griddle marks on the one side, I flip them over and fry for another 2-3 minutes. And when I have griddle marks on both sides, I remove them from the pan and start frying the peaches. When frying the peaches, I like to have the pan really very hot so that I can just cook them very quickly and get griddle marks without the peach itself becoming too soft. I also fry the peaches without adding any oil because this can make them a little greasy and we just want them nice and sweet. So I fry each side just for a minute or two until I have nice griddle marks, and then I remove them from the pan and move on to frying off my mange tout. And I'm using half of the mange tout warm in the salad and half raw. Altogether I use 150 grams worth, so I'm frying off 75 grams roughly. And again, I do this really quickly like the peach, and I like to press them down using a spatula as they can bend a little bit as they hit the heat. And while some of the mange tout is in the griddle pan, I just roughly chop the other half into bite-sized pieces and pop them into a mixing bowl. Then it's time to flip over the mange tout, and as you can see, they also get some charring and become a little bit softer, but I don't like to fry them for too long so they get too soft. Now that I have all my griddled goodies done, there's no time to waste as the peaches are at their best when freshly cooked. So I'll quickly combine the raw mange tout with the cooked quinoa and some baby greens to create a delicious salad base. Then it's just time to plate up. I add about 120 grams of mixed baby greens to the bowl with the mange tout, and then I also add in the cooked and slightly cooled down quinoa. To dress it, I squeeze over the juice of about half a lemon, and I drizzle in some extra virgin olive oil as well as season with salt and pepper. I give it all a good toss, and this makes a great base for most salads. And to serve this, you could layer the ingredients in this sort of bigger serving bowl, but I like to serve it in individual bowls. I transfer the base into some smaller bowls. Then I simply layer my griddled tofu and peaches and mange tout on top. To give the salad some extra crunch, I also go in with some toasted walnuts that I like to break up into smaller pieces. And finally, for a little bit of tartness and more sweetness, I squeeze over some balsamic glaze. I also like to sprinkle some flaky sea salt over the top just for a finishing touch. This salad offers a delightful balance of flavors, just like a good salad should. You get sweetness from the peaches, which contrasts with a touch of tartness from the balsamic glaze, and the walnuts add a satisfying crunch while the tofu brings a chewy and savory element. To bring it all together, the greens and mange tout provide a fresh base, and the combination of quinoa and tofu ensures it keeps you feeling full for a long time, making it an ideal standalone dish for lunch or dinner like I mentioned before. And last but not least, let's not forget the charring, which adds another dimension to the flavor. This is a fantastic dish, I think, to share with friends or enjoying on a relaxing weekend. It's got that extra something special. Now let's move on to the next salad, which puts a vegan twist on a traditional salad Nicoise. Instead of using eggs and fish, which is usually part of the salad, I'll be using roasted chickpeas, and to make it even more satisfying and delicious, I'm adding some roasted new potatoes to the mix. New potatoes really are one of my favorite summer ingredients, and when roasted they become even more irresistible. Or maybe they're just as good when boiled and then cooled down. I'm not sure, but they're good any old way, and they're definitely going into the salad, so let's get started. Again, to serve 4 people, I'm using 600 grams worth of new potatoes that I've cleaned but not peeled, and I cut them into roughly inch-wide pieces. If it's not new potato season where you are, you can of course use any other type of potato that you can get your hands on. Once they're all cut up, I transfer them onto a lined baking sheet, and I drizzle them with some olive oil and season with salt and black pepper. Finally, I give them a good toss to coat, and I transfer them to the oven, which I've preheated to 200 degrees Celsius fan assisted. I usually roast them for about 30 minutes without flipping them. Another thing going into the oven are the chickpeas, and I'm using 2 cans worth that I've drained and rinsed, and then I pat them dry using a clean tea towel. This will help them crisp up a little in the oven. I also like to remove any skins that have come loose while I've been drying them before transferring into a mixing bowl. I drizzle them with a little bit more olive oil and I season them with salt and black pepper again, and then I mix it all really well to coat the chickpeas before transferring them onto a lined baking sheet. I spread them out into a single layer before popping them into the oven with the potatoes, where they'll roast for about 20 minutes. I like to give them a good shake after about 10 to 15 minutes, making sure they are roasting evenly. While the potatoes and chickpeas are roasting away, I prepare the vinaigrette by combining 1/3 cup of red wine vinegar with a heaped teaspoon of Dijon mustard in a jar. I'm also going to add in a teaspoon worth of chopped up capers. This is to replace the anchovy brine that is often used in a Nicoise salad vinaigrette. To add more flavor and a touch of green, I go in with a teaspoon worth of fresh thyme leaves. I'm going to chop them up finely before adding them to the jar, but you could also use dried thyme here if you don't have fresh on hand. I'm also going in with some fresh garlic, and at the moment I'm using these single clove garlic bulbs, so I'm just using a small piece, but it's the equivalent of 1 small garlic clove, and I simply grate it on my microplane to break it up into a fine mince. Finally, I season with salt and black pepper before pouring in a 1/4 cup of olive oil. I'm using extra virgin olive oil here for this vinaigrette. Then I just screw on the lid and shake it all up until well combined and emulsified. One key ingredient that I associate with Nicoise salad are green beans. So naturally they have a place in this version. Here in Sweden, frozen green beans are commonly available throughout the year. However, during the summer, it's a real treat to get a hold of fresh, local green beans. So today I have fresh ones, and we'll only cook them briefly in boiling water to retain a bit of snappy texture. But if you can only find frozen ones, they'll work in a pinch too. Again, to serve 4 people, I'm using 150 grams worth of green beans. And first I just trim off the knobbly end, and then I drop them into boiling salted water for just a couple of minutes, maybe 3 minutes, until they are really vibrantly green and have softened a little bit, but without losing a bit of crunch. Then I leave them to cool off in an ice bath while I prep the other salad ingredients. First up are some gem lettuce heads, and I usually use 2 small ones to serve 4 people. I clean them and I cut the end off to be able to peel the layers out from the core, and I like to cut the bigger pieces into 2 or 3 smaller ones. I also grab about 200 grams worth of cherry tomatoes that I half or quarter depending on their size. On this day I found some mixed color ones, but of course you could use any type of cherry tomato you find, or even larger tomatoes too. This salad involves a few components, but the beauty of roasting the potatoes and chickpeas is that they pretty much take care of themselves while I prepare the other elements. So in total, it only takes about 35 minutes to make the salad. And you can also have all the components prepped and simply arrange them together when you're craving a satisfying yet fresh meal, which is pretty much all that I have left to do now. So let's plate up. I'm using this platter style metal plate that somehow makes it feel like I'm eating in a cafeteria or something, but of course you could do this on any type of plate or bowl that you like. And I like to start by layering the lettuce on the bottom and then adding the potatoes to one side, the tomatoes next to them, and then so on to create a nice visual. Of course you could just mix it all up as well if you prefer, or create more of a layered salad rather than splitting the components like this. Either way, it's going to be delicious. And one thing that I'm adding that I haven't shown yet is a cup's worth of Kalamata olives. I also go in with some toasted pumpkin seeds for extra crunch, even though it isn't really traditional. It's something that I really like. Finally, I drizzle the salad with about half of the vinaigrette, and I serve the other half on the side for anyone who wants a little bit extra. So that's my take on salad niçoise. Once again, it's a salad that has a bit of everything, making it fun to eat with something new hitting your taste buds with each bite. Personally, I enjoy plating it up like this with the components a little bit separated, although it's definitely the most delicious all mixed together before digging in. We do eat with our eyes though, so I think it's a nice moment to just mix it up all on the plate before eating. Anyways, I hope you'll try these recipes and that you've enjoyed the video. Thank you all very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care. Bye.